Well, we've all seen those heartbreaking images like these out of Ukraine over the last 2 months. Women and children making the long and treacherous journey to safety alone, while their husbands and fathers and brothers and sons stay behind to fight. While Ukrainian men and many women are risking their lives on the front lines against the Russians, all those refugees who've been forced to flee are often left with internal wounds, being driven from their homes, driven from their homeland, their country. And those wounds can last a lifetime. We've seen it happen over the years. During the Bosnian War, for example, 27 years ago, when millions were forced to flee to safer Eastern European nations or to the U.S., that was a reality for our next guest. Psychotherapist Selma Bacevac is a Bosnian refugee who uses her experience to help other survivors heal from the long-term trauma of the war. Selma, thanks for being with us. And I just want to ask you, as we look at the pictures and as we've gone through this last couple of months, seeing this pain that you know all too well, tell us what will the children have to deal with in general, mentally and emotionally, in the years to come?
I first want to say thank you so much for having me on and covering this topic that is often missed in coverages of war zones. In war zones like Ukraine, children are the most vulnerable population. They lose a sense of safety, a trust in their environment. There is a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, and a ton of terrifying unknowns. This toxic stress can lead to changes in the way children see the world and themselves. This stress starts affecting brain development, their immune system, and in some cases, physical development. When a child loses a sense of safety, they start developing survival skills, and these often remain part of their life after the traumatizing event is no longer present in their life. So a lot of research indicates that children exposed to war have a higher chance of developing mental health conditions like PTSD, depression, and anxiety disorders. Their family also changes, right? Parents who were once able to be present and available to their children emotionally and physically may not be able to be so anymore. If these children are forced to face displacement, loss of family members, loss of home, friends, neighbors, and so on. These are all profound traumatic losses for anyone, let alone a developing child. So these changes can affect the children of Ukraine with their overall mental, emotional, and physical health for years to come on a collective level, as well as a intergenerational level and individual level.
And Selma, you're doing this work now, having been one of those people driven from their house. I was in Bosnia 29 years ago in Banja Luka and Sarajevo and elsewhere. So I remember how difficult that was. But you were one of those people that we are now seeing coming from Ukraine. It must be hard for you to go through this. What motivates you to try and reach out to help people who are going through this experience now?
Partially, it is my life, my own life experience. I was one of those children, a war child myself, living in Sarajevo during the Sarajevan siege. Partially, it is my desire to give back to children who are often neglected in societies, because refugee children, no one really talks about our mental health. No one talks about our grief that we experienced, the traumas we experienced. So in my work, I try to give back to people who struggle with depression, trauma, and anxiety that stems from a lot of what I consider to be violations of human rights, especially for children who are stuck in war zones and genocides.
And you've said that refugees are often forgotten until war breaks out again. And to think of the number of refugees in refugee camps that I've been in around the world, in the Middle East and elsewhere, they sure are. I remember thinking to myself, well, the first 50,000 refugees out of a conflict are news. And then no matter how many more come, the world first ignores them and then kind of forgets the whole thing. So how can we support, how can we change that dynamic? Support refugee friends and neighbors, make them feel safe and welcome, reach out to these people going through this, what you went through.
Yeah. partially what you just said, but also be present and listen. Often refugees have an added layer of grief that they're really not able to talk about. There's a big shame about speaking about what happened, the humiliating conditions of going from a country and escaping and leaving what was once a pride of their existence. Many people in their host country can't relate to this loss, to this grief. So a lot of refugees don't have a space to express this pain. So I would encourage anyone who has refugees in their surrounding, in their environment, in their everyday, give them space to tell you their stories about their families, and hold compassionate space for them while they tell you about their war experience, because a lot of it is very difficult to listen to, but so important to voice and listen to that story.
That's great advice, Selma. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.